All right, well, greetings and salutations to everybody out there in YouTube land. I'm your host once again, Dan Thornton. I want to thank you all for tuning in today. Today, Thursday, Lions Talk Live morning show edition. Want to come on out and talk about a little bit of a different topic. I think we all could see across most of the national media yesterday that the Lions, depending on whose list you're looking at, we're a top 5, top 10 team. Or, I would say most of us are going to put us in the top 5 to 4. Some of them are in that range. You can debate the semantics of it all. Hey, maybe we're not this, maybe we're that, whatever it is. We're probably one of the NFL's better teams. Now, with that being said, as we all know, NFL free agency is really about a month away. The Lions are going to have an opportunity to go ahead and wait for some other players to get cut from other teams for salary cap purposes. You're going to see players emerge who probably want to come to the Detroit Lions. You've heard us become basically a national headline or a draw attraction ever since Hard Knocks 2 seasons ago. This past season, I think a lot of people who weren't even Lions fans started jumping in on the bandwagon and going for the team because of the story. I mean, the Lions have been basically a downtrodden franchise for the most part since the late 1950s. And you know what? It just seemed like going into the NFC championship game, title game, whatever you want to say, the Lions had the vast majority of the nation, maybe you can say the world, pulling for them to get the win against the San Francisco 49ers and make the push into their first ever Super Bowl, maybe even win it. With that also being said, though, we get the Lions have some real needs. You get that they've got a bit of money. I did some a little bit of a cap, I guess, breakdown, you could say. If we remove this player, rework this structure deal, et cetera, et cetera. I do believe the Lions could sit on anywhere between 70, 80, 90 million in cap space if they want to go certain routes. I think without a question of the doubt, the Lions are going to be able to have somewhere in the neighborhood of 70, 80. 90 would be really extreme and pushing. But I think what we can all say is the Lions are going to have some money to spend if they really want to. Where and if, perhaps when Brad Holmes decides to go for it and acquire a little bit more talent, I guess that's what we're here to debate here today. Do the Lions make a push to go get a Brian Burns, maybe Hunter, maybe Josh Allen, the defensive end, not the quarterback, to help bolster the defensive line and pass rush? That's a question I'm going to pose to you guys. Is now the time for Brad Holmes to get rid of some of the guys who aren't exactly performing up to their contracts? I'm going to mention someone like a Tracy Walker, maybe a John Kaminsky. Kaminsky 2 years ago had a pretty good year. Last year, I thought was kind of meh. He was almost, I don't know, he just didn't make as many plays as he did the prior season. So that's my question to you guys. Is it time for Brad Holmes to say, heck it, we're going to put all of our money where our mouth is. We're going to go for it. We're going to try to have a 3 to 5 year window where the Detroit Lions are perhaps one of the NFL's most dominant teams, perhaps in contention to get to the Super Bowl, perhaps in a situation to win a Super Bowl. And who knows, man, after you win one, maybe you can go for 2 or 3 or 4. That I don't know. But in my opinion, anybody who's watched the show on the channel for a while, you're going to probably remember me saying this when I first reported the Washington Commanders were going to look to offload Chase Young and Montez Sweat. I took some flack for it and saying that, hey, they were basically looking for, second, third rounders or whatever. That ended up coming to fruition. In my opinion, as a former GM, what I said at that point is the Lions are in a situation to really make a strong push. I wasn't a fan of some of the options out there as others. Montez Sweat was one of them, if you guys remember from the videos and stuff we did. And I thought, man, this is an opportunity to push you a little further up the board or the hierarchy of the NFL. I believe we're sitting in that window again here this offseason. Am I going to say which guy to go after? No. If it was me, it probably would be Burns or Allen. Hunter would be great. I just think he's going to command a little bit more money. Maybe I'm wrong with that. But I do think here's a window of opportunity, like I said, for a few more years for the Detroit Lions to really make a push to own the NFC North, and potentially fight for Super Bowls. So with that being said, if I'm Brad Holmes, who I'm not, I'm pushing the salary cap. I'm going to go for it. I'm not going to say I'm going to spend every single dollar, but you know what? I'm going to give one of the cornerbacks probably around 15 to 18 million a year. Now remember, I'm projecting that we're going to have 70 to 80, maybe in an extreme circumstance, we can work out 90. Let's just go with 70 for now. I'm going to give 15 to 18 million to a cornerback. I'm going to probably give about that amount, if not a little bit more. We'll just say 20 million to a pass rushing defensive monster opposite Aiden Hutchinson. That's going to eat up, we'll just say, roughly 40 million on our cap. That means we're still going to retain somewhere between 30 to 40 million in this year's money and cap space to help re-sign other players like Amon-Ra St. Brown, maybe Jared Goff, Penei Sewell, etc. And then, yes, for every year going forward, you're projecting that the salary cap is going to go up further and further to help alleviate some of your financial burdens. But what I also believe this method would allow you, if you wanted to, on the draft, just simply go after the best players available. You want to go after offensive linemen, go after offensive linemen. You want to go after other corners to develop and not force them into starting spots right away, go for it and do it. Same with defensive end, same with any spot on the team outside of kicker. I would say this, you're probably going to have to focus on drafting a kicker. But these are my thoughts. Let me see what your guys' thoughts are. And before we get into the comment section, you guys know I got to do a few things, a few daily do's and regulars. If you haven't yet subscribed to Lions Talk Live, please consider doing so, making that push to get to 5,800. I guess the offseason, things don't move as quickly as perhaps during the regular season. But if you could help out with that, I surely would be thankful. We're somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 to 15 subs needed to hit the mark. So if you have a free moment and you haven't subscribed, please consider doing that. Also, if you enjoy the content in the video, hit the thumbs up button. Really helps the channel out a lot. And last but never least, if you're looking to buy or sell property in the great state of Michigan or beyond, give me a call, shoot me a text, send me a smoke signal, carrier pigeon, whatever you want to do. I've been in the industry for over 30 years. So, let me use my wisdom and knowledge, my experience to your behest, save you some money, save you some hassle on either the buying or selling a property. You see the number on the board, 269-998-2384. Go ahead and feel free to give me a call. All right, let's see what you guys have to say on all this. All right, Jason, greetings, salutations all, Superdome or bust, and that's where I'm going with today's video. We want to go to the Superdome. We want to go to the Super Bowl. Let's have as few weaknesses on this team as possible. Let's go out and spend some money. I'm not going to say Brad Holmes is going to do it, but I'm saying, to me, you're in a window of opportunity here to really make this happen. Let's get after it. All right, Michael, greetings and salutations. Coach and do crew, exclamation point. Yes, it is a great morning, and hopefully, Michael, you're having an even better morning than I. All right, Detroit D, greetings and salutations, everyone. Back at you, buddy. Robert G, good morning. Dan and crew, 100%. Lions fan, greetings and salutations. Open up that checkbook, exclamation point, all caps. Let's get a lights-out defensive end and add the best corner we can. All right, so you guys have heard me for about a week or so now talk about who I think would be the best fit in the current free agent pool as far as cornerbacks. Who would you guys go after? I know Snead from Kansas City is somebody I would want to go after, but it doesn't mean we have to. See what your guys' thoughts are. Also, I want to say one thing. Should have probably led the show off with it. Apologies. Got caught up with the opening monologue, but thoughts and prayers out to everybody affected in yesterday's events in Kansas City. Man, oh man, who would have ever thought at a Super Bowl celebration that a shooting event would happen? But unfortunately it has, and unfortunately a couple people may have lost their lives. So thoughts and prayers over them. Hopefully everybody's safe, and hopefully all those who were affected that are in critical condition can pull through and be okay. All right, Drake, what do you got? Good morning, everybody. I think Holmes is going to be very calculated with his moves this offseason, not going to overspend on players. I would agree with that. It would be his norm. It would be what he typically tends to do. So if he goes with my route, my suggestions, he's breaking his trend or his norm. But that would also be a strong indication, I would think, to us that this offseason, if he starts spending, he thinks the Lions have a real window of opportunity to go after it and do something in the next foreseeable years. Ed, good morning, Coach and do crew. Back at you, Ed. Hopefully having a great day. Hopefully you're out there fishing and having a good time. Robert, prayers for the Chiefs fans. What a terrible thing to happen during a celebration. Yeah, 1,000%. And yeah, I don't even want to speculate on what caused or anything. I just put a beat down on those knuckleheads who did that, man. Yeah, Anyways, all right, Detroit D. Question for you. The chat this morning: does Monty carries go down next year with the emergence of Gibbs? I believe Ben Johnson didn't stay with the hot hand in a lot of games this year. I guess D. That's a great question, and what I would say is, I think it's going to be harder and harder to keep Gibbs off the field because, as good as David Montgomery is, he, at least in my opinion, he's not Gibbs. Gibbs is rare. I mean, nobody's looking back at that trade down in last year's first round and picking up Gibbs and saying, man, I don't know about that. People are now going, Lions might have been the smartest dude in the room. And give Brad Holmes a lot of credit for that because he might have been the smartest dude in the war room and other war rooms for pulling that off. There has been some news that came out more the last month or so that apparently the Minnesota Vikings wanted to draft Gibbs, but obviously that didn't happen. So my opinion is that Gibbs will probably get more of the Lions' share of the snaps next year. Now, are we talking 60-40? Are we talking 70-30? That I don't know. My anticipation is it's probably going to be something closer to 55% versus 45%, but I do think Gibbs will get the majority of them. All right, Dennis, good morning, fam. Breaking news, we have signed Scott Mitchell. You'll be pissed. Yeah, I mean, Mitchell, no offense to the guy. I mean, he did have one really great year and some other years that were, I mean, they were all right. They weren't horrible. They weren't great. They were meh. He was still one of the more difficult interviews I've ever had to conduct as at least a sports reporter. When I did some courtroom reporting and stuff like that, that's probably the only time I ran into some more difficult interviews than Scott Mitchell. Scott Mitchell, when he was on, when he'd had a good game, I mean, he was fine to interview. He was, smiling, funny, really just let everything hang out. Unfortunately for Scott Mitchell and the Detroit Lions, that wasn't the norm, especially in, I'd say, at least 2 of his 4 years here. Maybe it was 3 or 4, but some of those games and some of those post-game interviews, he was basically Ryan Leaf. If you guys remember some of his interviews that went public, he was in that area. He was just ready to explode. All right, Ed, what do you got? Whose front porch are you sitting on at 11:59 in the eve of free agent signing? Ooh, that's a good question. If it's me and I'm Brad Holmes, I'm probably sending the Dew crew out to sit on. I mean, you already heard my pick at cornerback, Steve from Kansas City. It would probably be Josh Allen. If you feel like you can get Hunter at a more reasonable contract, I just think he's really going to get paid. But the only thing that would probably hinder that somewhat is his age, but it'd probably be one of those 3. Burns, you're going to have to get in a trade, and I just don't see the Lions trading for him. I just don't think the Panthers are going to let him go without franchising him. And to me, I just don't have interest in giving him a first, second, or third for him when you can get somebody fairly similar without the trade. Dennis Hunter, yeah, he'd be a big one for sure. All right, Robert, greetings and salutations. Back at you, buddy. Hopefully having a good morning. Detroit D, also, I don't believe Brad is going big in free agency. He'll bring in solid players and continue to build through the draft. Yeah, I would say you're 100% right, Detroit D. That is his norm. That's what he's, shown us over the past few years that he's going to do. So you know what? I would say until he proves otherwise, probably that should be the expectation. Keep in mind with my opening monologue and what I'm suggesting, that's what I would do. And maybe that's why I'm not Brad Holmes, I guess. Maybe that's why I'm sitting here on YouTube versus, in the Detroit Lions offices. Michael, Washington hired Lions Senior Director of Players Personnel, Lance Newmark, as its new assistant general manager. Why, after 26 years with Lions, all the losing seasons, you leave? Maybe just wanted something different. Maybe it was pay structure. I mean, there could be a multitude of reasons why. But to your point, Michael, yeah, you stuck around that long. I mean, really, you are the last remnants of the Wayne Fonts, 90s, regimes, Bobby Ross regimes and all that stuff. You've gone through all that mud, man. Why do it now? Who knows? But you know what? Wish him well. Wish him luck. All right, Ed, I'm on Bryce Hoff's front porch. He would be a perfect for the Lions. Yeah, that's not a bad one either there, Ed. You've got a good one there. So Will the Lions go for him? I don't know, but that is a good target to have. It's hard to predict what somebody else is going to do, let alone Brad Holmes, who we all know he likes to keep everything close to the chest. He's probably a good poker player, so that's not a bad call though on your part. Thaddeus, this is the year to go for it. Go get what we need. Yeah, 100% with that. And that's my kind of logic there is I think the Lions really do. You look at their current team, you look at the pay structures of the team. You can't foresee what's going to happen from an injury standpoint or what other teams are going to do. But I do believe the Lions have about a 3 to 5 year window that I could currently at least feel safe in talking to you guys about, projecting and saying during that time, we should be in the NFL's top 10, top 5, maybe make a Super Bowl or so. That's why I'm saying address your needs now in free agency so you can just replenish the board with whoever you want in the draft. To me, that's the biggest win. When a team has to draft players because of needs, they probably are going to supersede and reach for values that aren't really there. Where I think you look at the Lions during Brad Holmes, he's pretty much regardless of position, he's just going for the best players in his mind. And that just means you're going and getting better talent for the team. I just think, if you really want this thing to be sustainable, you do have to make some calculated moves in free agency to acquire guys that basically, like I just said, now will give you the freedom in the draft to trade, do whatever, just draft whoever you feel is the best pick. And, I'll use this with Broderick Holmes or Ife Melifanu or Derek Barnes. Maybe they're not all needing to be day one starters. You can take some better talent that just needs to be polished up or coached up or whatever a little bit. And if you can consistently do that and hit with those, then this team's got depth and it's got a brighter future. These are just my thoughts. We'll see what he does. All right, Uncle Buzz, what do you can't wait to see what Brad Holmes is cooking up? Yeah, and we've got about a month away. So I'm going to say this. I've got whatever he chooses to do, I've got nothing but faith in the guy because he's earned that street cred that from all of us. And I get there's going to be people that are going to debate, left, right, or whatever Brad Holmes does. But I'm going to say in my eyes, my mind, give the guy nothing but high marks because he's yet to miss on really anything, in my opinion. All right, Robert G. Did anyone watch that parade? Travis Kelce was so drunk, Mahomes had to hold him back so he didn't fall off the stage. Just another embarrassing moment for him. Yeah, I mean, is what it is. I mean, I'll say this. I get they were celebrating, and maybe a few of them celebrated a little too much. I also get that sometimes, and I can't speak for Travis Kelce or any other particular athletes. I just know some of them, I am aware there are some guys that are so over the top health conscious for themselves that they really avoid, sugars or carbs or a combination of the two, whatever it is. And now all of a sudden you're in a situation where you're unloading, you're unleashing all that buildup stress and anxiety that now you partake in alcohol where maybe you haven't for months. Now you eat a bunch of, Paluskis or whatever filled with sugar and you have it in months or a year. And that really causes some people to have some very different responses than what they normally would. To your point, Robert G., though, you do need to be aware of your settings. You do need to be aware that you just came off a very probably less than ideal PR moment when you bump your head coach. Probably need to follow that up for a long while with being just over the top conscious about the optics of the moment. And maybe he didn't consider that at that moment. Hookadoo. Good morning, Coach Dan and Do crew. Exclamation point. Rise and shine. Back at you, Hookadoo, and hopefully having a great day. Dave, greetings, salutations, all. Time to be in it to win it. No more second places. Yeah, and that's my thoughts. I mean, the Lions, I really do think, have a real strong foundation for this team for the foreseeable future. I'm just thinking, man, instead of needing guys to develop and play over the top well right away, just get one or two free agents, and yes, it's going to cost, but that defense starts looking closer and closer to top 10. There's just not a whole lot of weaknesses other than an elite corner, which very few teams have irregardless, but we'll see what they do. Ed, I've watched some game film on Betts, and he looks pretty good to me. Yeah, I think if you can add some mechanics to him, some coachable things, some moves, some stuff that you can see people like Aiden Hutchinson or even James Houston or whatever. You watch them from the start of the rookie year to about the middle of the year to the end of their first year, and now watch them now. you can just see where they've been coached up a lot more. You can see where they can handle different situations more. They recognize different moments and opportunities a little bit better, a little bit quicker. That's the biggest thing with Betts to me. I talked about it yesterday. I think he needs more of that. I think he's, you can't really affect it a ton, but you can probably try to help it with some of his lower body bend and strength. To me, he just doesn't have a lot there. That doesn't mean he can't be a bull rusher, though. That doesn't mean he can't put pressure on opposing, especially offensive tackles, and as a delayed blitzer or someone who runs a lot of stunts, too. Those are the things, at least from what I see, he could be highly effective at if coached up a little bit this offseason. Man Bear, good morning. Is there anything good on the rumor mill? Nothing that I've heard today, I guess, or yesterday. You're going to see tons of stuff. Just type in, Detroit Lions trade rumors or whatever, and there's going to be all sorts of different scenarios. I know there's some I've seen with trading for, different ends or cornerbacks, and that's what you're going to get tons of in the offseason is people talking and speculating on this trade for this pick or whatever. And but there's nothing I've heard of that I would say seems legitimate, at least as of yet. All right, Stephanie, good morning, all. Hi, Coach Dan. Hi, Stephanie. Hopefully you're having a good morning. All right, Robert G, in my opinion, just my opinion, but I'd still like to see them trade or sign for a cornerback in free agency, then draft a defensive end in the first round. I will say this weekend I'll do another mock draft, mock 2.0 or whatever, and I do think there's an emerging talent for the Lions to potentially get if he can slip a few spots. I think he'd have to slip probably about 3 or 4 spots to us at 29. That I think would be a real win for the Detroit Lions if they can get him that late in the draft. I also do think there's going to be more and more validity to the opportunity the Lions trading out into the second round or so with the number 29th pick for somebody who's going to want a quarterback. All right, there's a few teasers for this weekend's mock 2.0. Boo, good morning, Dude Crew. Superdome or bust, exclamation point. Like many of us, I don't believe Brad Holmes is going to make a blockbuster move, quote, blockbuster move, not a trade or free agent signing, but he can surprise. And that's basically would be if he plays out the scenarios that I've thrown at you guys, yeah, it would be outside of his norm, and I just don't see it happening. But, I've been wrong before, man. We'll see what he does. All right, let's see. Moving on here. Hold on, we lost spots here. Somehow everything just moved around. Apologies, guys. Let me try to get back on track here. Let me find where we were. Apologies. Everything just kind of flipped for a second. So apologies here. I think I'm catching up here. All right. Trump. All right. Yeah, I think this is where we're at next. All right, Trump. Woo! Morning, Duke Crew. Back at you. Hopefully having a great one. Michael, howdy, Dan, Alliance Fable. Love your dedication. Hey, love being here with you guys. I've said it a million times. As long as people want to come in here and talk, I'm fine with doing the morning show. I love it every morning, man. I get up and ready for it. So hopefully you guys enjoy it. So, and thanks for your kind words, Michael. All right, Don, we got greetings and salutations, everyone. Brad Holmes going shopping? Question mark. That will be the day. Probably. But you know what? We'll see what happens. All right, Trump prayers for KC victims. 100%. Yeah, you got to have, man, just nothing but well wishes for them all and prayers, Oh, man, just what a tragedy, man. All right, Jesse, what do you got? Good morning. Are we keeping Goff? Question mark. I mean, re-signing him. I believe so. It's just, we'll have to wait and see this offseason. Do they do it sooner versus later? Do they wait the start of the, next year, maybe get through preseason, see a little bit more detailed information on Hooker? I mean, those are the things we can't answer. I can't answer. You can't answer. It's all in Brad Holmes' power at this point. So we'll see where it goes. Ed, did Brad inherit most of his offensive line? I hope he addresses the offensive line in the draft. Most of it, yeah. Decker, Frank Ragnow, Jonah Jackson, yeah, all came from the prior regime. So while they may have missed on a ton of things in their drafts, offensive line was not among them. Obviously, we know the very first draft pick of the new regime of Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell was Penei Sewell. So they added that piece. I'm going to guess they're going to have to look to add some additional pieces this offseason. And to me, the most likely scenario for that would be the draft. Some also Trump's a genius. With you on that. Can't believe what happened. Yeah, with the unfortunate events yesterday. Yeah, thoughts and prayers go out to everybody affected by that. Mile marker, good morning. The morning snow shows that it's still winter, but closer now to March than January. One pride. Yeah, you're right. And I know there's this new winter storm that's coming into the United States or whatever. And I've heard about road closures, school closings. I know just about every kid I coach right now is praying for more snow days. I'm but it's been a very odd winter. Some parts of the country are just getting hammered. Here in Michigan, I mean, for the most part, other than maybe a week or two where got a little bit meh, I think it's been pretty light. So, yeah, but we are, to your point though, Mile, we are one day closer to free agency, 100% there. So Simos, what's good? All thoughts and prayers for those in yesterday's shooting, Casey. Yeah, 1,000%. Southwest Line. Good morning, all. Good morning to you too. Glad to see you. Oh, glad to see you in the channel. Trump, more coming. Yep. More snow, or hopefully, it happens. I mean, it is winter, and we've had a pretty light winter. All right, Cape Pop, spend, get more talent. We'll see if Brad Holmes opens up that wallet a little bit. Robert G, what up, Southwest? Dennis, good morning, Southwest. Southwest, just been busy. Hope everyone's doing well. Back at you. I know there were some people asking yesterday and the day before about you, so good to see you in the chat. All right, Ed, Atlanta's looking at Fields from Chicago and Hooker. They want a running QB. Let's make a deal, Brad. Yeah, I know there's been more and more speculation what's going to happen with Chicago and Brad in Justin Fields, I should say. To me, who's going to take him if Chicago unloads him? To me, if I'm Chicago, as much as I would keep Fields, I probably am going to be almost forced in taking Williams just because the potential for what he could be is probably one of the higher ones we've seen in the last 20 or 30 years in the NFL draft. I mean, yes, you're going to have your outliers like Mahomes or whoever, Peyton Manning, whatever, but Fields is, unfortunately, I think he's been in the league long enough where people see he's improving, he's developing, but the tantalizing of what could be with Caleb Williams is what's probably going to force them to draft him, and means Fields is probably traded. Who gets him? That I don't know. But Ed, to your point, if you want to pull off a trade for Hooker, you're probably going to have to do it sooner versus later, because dominoes will start falling once free agency hits, as we start lining up free agency and then the draft. So I can't tell you when's going to be the most perfect time if you're going to look to trade Hooker to do it, to get your best return on value. But I would say it's probably sooner versus later. Trump, what do you can't wait for our free agency. And Brad, I trust. Yeah, 100%. Brad Holmes has done nothing, at least in my eyes, to deter anybody to think any move he makes is going to be a question mark. All right, Jason, what does Atlanta have available if that were the case? Yeah, I guess that would be the case. If you traded Hooker over there, what would you get for him? My anticipation is maybe like a second and a fifth round pick, something like that, which the second would be intriguing to me. I guess at that point, we would all have to surmise that there's no doubt Jared Goff's getting re-signed in Detroit, because you're not letting the potential in Hendon Hooker leave unless you're going to resign and you're fully committed to Jared Goff. All right, Boo. Good day, Southwest. Yeah, back at Southwest, yeah, 100%. Detroit D, any older big name free agents? I'm only doing 1-year deals, no more than $15 million for players like Mack, Bosa, Gilmore. Yeah, I would be with you there. I would not want to make any kind of long-term commitment to somebody who's a little bit long in the tooth. Bosa, man, I don't know, man. I've seen him last year do some things, but look at a lot of those offensive linemen that he actually performed and got good results against. I wasn't impressed with him or Mack, at least when the Lions played him. And I get we've got better offensive line than most, but I just think their better days have passed. Gilmore, man, I'm just not sure if I would, if you're going to really run a ton of man-to-man for 4 months in Detroit, I just not sure if he would even hold up. Zone, I think he'd probably be better in man-to-man. Yeah, unless he's going to be like your number 3 or 4 corner, but then is he really an upgrade? I guess so I'm with you, Detroit D. All those guys, maybe you bring him in for 1 year just to help out in depth. Maybe you still get something out of Mack or Bosa. I don't know. Somebody would have to do a deeper dive than I've done on them, but Yeah, I agree with you. Don't bring in anybody older unless it's going to be on the cheap and for a very short contract. All right, Dennis, what about getting Mac? I know it's been speculated, and I know the Chargers. If I'm Jim Harbaugh, I'm probably not interested in keeping some of the guys like Bosa or Mac, who just frankly they're better days. And it's no disrespect to the guys. It's just the reality of sports. Their better days are behind them. I mean, Khalil Mack's been in the league since 1792. I mean, him and Bosa. I mean, they might have came over on the Mayflower back in 1492. Man, I don't know. They've been around a long time. I just think you're getting limited returns with both of them. You're bringing them in more for their names than their production value. And as a GM, that's what I'd have a real problem with. The same as a coach. I just don't see MCDC or BH going that route. But I've been wrong before. Eduardo, free agency can't come soon enough. No, I agree. I think everybody's ready to see what we're going to begin doing to improve the team for next year. And like I've said in the thumbnail and the start of the show, my projections, we can have somewhere between 70, 80, potentially 90 million in cap space if you really want to redo some things. That's a bit of money. You can go get some guys if you want to. I could see the argument to be made, hey, they're going to spend on a defensive end and then just use the draft for cornerbacks. Because while I like the cornerbacks, there's nobody that I'm jumping up and down that would be a must-have. I don't think – I know some have asked about Chris Jones. I just don't see us spending $30 million on an interior defensive tackle. And he is a game changer. Don't get me wrong. Him next to any of our, Lee McNeil or anybody else, I mean, that would change the game along with Hutchinson and whoever you put on that opposite side. I just don't see the Lions going that route. But if they do, I won't be sad. Joseph, good morning, Coach and Duke crew. Me, myself, I wish we would go get Hunter. Yeah, and I'd be totally fine with it, man. That dude is a beast. He's a monster. He's got a motor. He's got strength. He's got bend. He's got flexibility. I mean, he's got a lot of good things. So if they go out and get him, the only thing with him is his age is a little bit further up there than I think the other options. And I would say I'd be careful how much or how long the term of the contract is. All right, the Southwest Line, watch Joe Montana documentary on Peacock. It's hard not to like Joe Montana. I see similarities between him and Goff. Hope Goff gets a Super Bowl while he's here. Yeah, because if Goff gets a Super Bowl while he's here, that means the Lions get a Super Bowl, and I'd be jumping up and down. Montana, I never actually met him as a reporter or anything. I think he came to the Silverdome one time during my 10 years as a reporter, but it was late in his career, and I know I didn't work that particular game, so I never got to interview him or anything, but just watching him in commercials, TV, and stuff like that. Always seemed like a pretty straight dude, pretty ho-hum kind of guy. I know some of his commentary in games to his teammates to take away stress are legendary. So I remember there was one story with him about I don't remember which Super Bowl it was. I remember they were playing the Bengals and like game-winning drive, huddle to start the drive. He's allegedly looked up in the crowd and said, "Hey, everybody, look, that's John Candy," and got the guys to focus on that. He made some jokes about him and just stuff like that to help get the guys to calm down. So is Goff that guy? I don't know, but he seems also pretty ho-hum. All right, Robert G., cornerback Kendall Fuller, Washington Commanders. Yeah, he'd be a nice one to pick up and probably one that you won't have to break the bank for. Dennis, yes. All right. Detroit D, I believe. So just don't think Brad will. Yeah, breaking the bank, yeah. I think he'll go after some stuff, but I think most of us are probably in the same realistic expectation that they're going to be calculated moves, not over the top, splash explosion moves. Robert G, I doubt KC will let Stephen Gilmore go. Yeah, there's probably potential that he'll remain. All right, Trump, older vets should be willing to come here as a last chance for a Super Bowl on a reduced salary. There's some opportunity there. Like we've all talked about for months now. Detroit's become a destination, I think, for players. One, for the opportunity to win. Two, the culture they've built here with the players. Three, players talk 100%. And it would seem to me, although who knows, maybe there's factors you and I aren't privy to, it just seems to me that everybody enjoys playing here. At least, how about this? The vast majority of the players like being on this team and being a part of it. I get there's going to be people that are going to be less than happy, especially if they get cut or waived, and they may then change their tune towards the coaching staff. But I'm going to say for an overall experience, yeah, there's probably a lot of free agents that might be willing to take a little bit less to come to Detroit, play in this environment, and have an opportunity to make the Super Bowl. All right, Eduardo, for everyone saying, quote, it's not like Brad, end quote, you need to remember that this is the first offseason where he can actually, where he has actually money to spend. This is true. He's done just an awesome job cleaning up the dead cap space of the team, and to the point where we still have some, but it is incredibly negligible. By next year, I think it's all off the books, and it's going to be hard to ever have an NFL franchise with zero dead cap because you do waive and cut people throughout the season. But either way, he's got as much freedom now as he's realistically ever going to have. So if there's going to be an off season for him to make a move, this is probably it. All right, Trump, defense. Yeah, we definitely need to target the defense. Boo, bye, Okwaras. Yeah, they're no longer here. I know Julian went to Philadelphia. Yeah, I think that's right, Philadelphia. All right, Archon, the only pattern I have been able to learn from Brad Holmes as far as his offseason moves is that any team needs, he will address in free agency, and his draft will purely be best player available. Yeah, I'd say that's pretty spot on, especially with the draft. He's not worried about positions. He's worried about the best value for that particular pick. There are some times he's traded up, like with Broderick Martin, but I do believe Broderick Martin is probably more the asterisk or exception to the rule. That kid's got a ton of athletic ability. He just needs more technique, and that's why I'm guessing we won't see a ton of him until next year, but that also means he's got a year of development. He's going to have some opportunity. When that kid is ready, he has the potential to be a real difference maker for the Detroit Lions. All right, Man Bear. Some of these players will need to give up some money if they want to stay in Detroit. I agree. You got to pay to stay if you want to play. Big V knows how it goes. Yeah, and Big V, he just didn't work out in Detroit. I think we all get it. Unfortunately, back injuries on the injuries derailed his time here. That all being said, last year he did take a significant pay cut to remain here. And there could potentially be some other guys that agree to do the same. If that happens, that's where I think we probably get closer to the $90 million I pointed out in the thumbnail in cap space. 70, I think, is incredibly achievable. 80, hey, you're going to have to move some things around. 90 million in cap space, yeah, you're going to have to really make a commitment to free up that much money. All right, Boo. Ed, good point. All right, fair enough. Archon, 15. Also, I'm hoping to see him cut quite a few players that we have room for both signings as well as extensions this offseason. Yeah, I think you're going to see some extensions for sure. You're going to see some guys get locked up. I've talked about on the show a few times. Tracy Walker, I think you basically got to get him to restructure that deal if he wants to remain here. It's just you're paying him a ton of money to be I guess at this point, if C.J. Gardner-Johnson doesn't resign, to be the third safety, and really he's a safety that should more or less bulk up and become a weak side linebacker just because his coverage skills, they're just not great. He hits well. He goes forward well. Downhill running, yeah, he's not bad at that by any stretch of the imagination. It's just he's not great in zone coverage. He's not great in man coverage. So, and if you're playing the secondary, you do need to cover. All right, Eduardo, I think whoever we sign will be heavy on incentives. I'll go with that. Yeah, that's probably good thinking there, Ed. All right, Amaran, Goff, Sewell extensions won't affect cap this year, even if we extend them. You're 100% right. You might even be able to, in Jared Goff's case, might even be able to talk him into restructuring this current season's deal so you can have a little bit more free agent salary cap space. Chamir Joyner is gone. Yeah, he's out of here. Yeah, he resigned he signed, I should say, with the Eagles. Southwest line, Dan, I see Goff as a top 10 quarterback. I would agree with that. I think they have. I have to think he understands that a big part of his success depends on having a strong supporting cast. 100%. Yeah, Goff is not the quarterback who's going to go out there and make everybody else exponentially better. There are very few guys who fit that bill. That being said, if Goff does have pieces around him, and especially an offensive line, he can pick apart just about any NFL defense. He's got enough experience. It's not like when he was in LA. I know a lot of people want to give him blame for that Super Bowl loss, but I know a number of you have pointed out over time that in that loss to the Patriots, he threw 2 touchdown passes. They were just both dropped passes. So if they catch both of those passes, they win the game. And then the narrative on Jared Goff probably would have been very different. That also being said, he's probably not in Detroit at that point. It means we don't have a lot of the guys that we've acquired through that trade. So you got to give and take there. But hey, I do agree with you that Goff, if he wants to stay here and keep the team running at a high level, he's going to have to take a little less. All right, Trump's those brother did nothing for the Lions. Yeah, the brothers. They didn't really help out as much as anticipated. Let's see, Eduardo. RV Amaro reported that the Lions were interested in Hunter Burns during the season, but Minnesota and Carolina didn't want to listen. I expect Brad to at least try to get Hunter. Yeah, if that is true, then I would say he's maybe going to try to make a move to get Hunter. Burns, I just think the cost for him is going to be, pretty high. Arction, no, I can't know. How do you think? Question mark. It's not like that's think that we do without both Aquars and both Harrises. Yeah. And I don't think the Harrises are related, by the way, but yeah, I think we can move on from all 4 of them. Jamera, do you think we would try to get rid of Tracy? I do. Unless he's going to gravely restructure that deal. I know with some of the issues with getting rid of Tracy Walker they would face is I'm not sure how much money would really free up, at least this year. It'd probably be very little, at least if I understood his cap numbers correctly. But if I'm going to the draft and I want to get more depth at safety, I'm doing it because I just don't see Tracy Walker. And he's a great dude from what I can tell. He's been a team captain before. It's just his coverage skills are not strong by any stretch of the imagination. I have every reason to believe you could draft somebody in the 3rd round and probably get as much coverage ability out of them, not hitting ability. I mean, Tracy Walker is very good running forward at running backs and playing things in front of him. It's just his coverage skills, I think, are not strong. All right, Southwest Line, Brad Holmes understands that the team needs to get better every year. If you're not getting better, other teams will pass you by. Yeah, especially in the NFC North, I think the next few years, you're going to have to keep winning an arms race to stay on top because that's what you're facing. Everybody's getting better. They've got franchises that are historically pretty good at doing stuff. Minnesota will be the great question mark, I think, this upcoming season. But outside of them, the Bears should be exponentially better. The Packers should be better. So, yeah, you're going to have to keep winning. Broski, good morning. At Trump's Genius. Fair enough. All right. Trump, good morning, Bear. All right. Robert G, whatever Brad Holmes decides to do, let's just hope he is half as good as results he has been. Yeah, if he can just do that, we'll be trending in the right direction. Eduardo, I hope we make the O-line an even better strength this offseason. Imagine having an O-line with Ragnow, Powers Johnson, and Sewell on one side. Yeah, that would be pretty impressive. And to your point, I'm all for keeping your strength strong. Hey, Mike, what do you got? Hey, thanks for this, man. Thank you very much. I will make sure I leave Bobby a tip with this as well. So what do we got? Have a do and dog. Can a team sign its own free agents, or do they have to wait for the free agent period? Great question. Yeah, you can more or less re-sign them. I mean, nothing may physically be signed until the appropriate dates. But to be fair, it wouldn't be the first time that, hey, it came out that, Lions are going to re-sign, or team AYBZ is going to re-sign so-and-so. It's going to be this amount. I mean, things get leaked out. They happen. But, yes, physically they do have to wait to write the signatures. And again, thanks for what you just did. I'll enjoy a delicious hot dog and Mountain Dew and leave Bobby a nice tip. David, happy Hooker goes to New Orleans. All right. that could be a possibility. I probably didn't think about the New Orleans enough with some of the different options where Hooker could go or Justin Fields could go. But I think Las Vegas, Atlanta, I think is going to probably draft one. But who knows? Maybe they decide to go with one of these guys because they are younger. But New Orleans, to your point, that's not a bad call by you, any stretch of imagination. All right, Shamir, what do you got? Smith, Wade, cornerback. I'd be down with that. Detroit D, Snead, Gilmore, Johnson. There you go. I like that. All right, Arkshin, I have a feeling that we won't be signing any corners in free agency. You might be right, man. I hope they do, but we'll see. All right, Trump, get Josh Allen. Yeah, I think there'd be a lot of people happy if Josh Allen ended up in the Detroit Lions. All right, Jameer, Luke McCaffrey, wide receiver. I know in the first mock draft, that's one of the ones we mocked over to Detroit. That could really happen. All right, Jason, living in Minnesota, I see a fair amount of D. Hunter. He is a beast. Yeah, he's without question. That pass rush for Detroit would start getting near the top of the NFL if you make that happen. So let's see if we can make it happen. Archon, but I hope I'm wrong. Well, let's hope we'll see what shakes out, man. Pickering, thoughts and prayers for everyone in KC, 100%. All right, Wardo, Detroit D had the hot hand was Demont a lot of games, but he didn't use him. Yeah, and both of them I think they're both great weapons. It's just I think Gibbs, because of his explosiveness, is probably going to be next year, although we'll see what happens. But I do think Gibbs will probably get, like I said, maybe 55% of the snaps, or David Montgomery gets, like 45. Eduardo, Dallas, San Francisco, Demont was cooking them. We keep seeing Gibbs. Yeah, and they'll keep using them both. I don't think you're going to stop seeing a two-headed attack out of the Detroit Lions. All right, Broski, who did the shooting in the Kansas City Chiefs parade? Not the group the media would like to mention, so they won't. Okay, I have no idea who did it, and I just want everybody to be okay. All right, Southwest Line. All right, I really like the way they limited the snaps for both Montgomery and Gibbs. Running backs take a lot of hits over the course of the season. Yeah, and you're keeping both fresh. Yeah, and keeping them upright, keeping them going, keeping them healthy. That's probably what I should say. Trump, don't forget we need a kicker. Yeah, 100% there. We need to address the revolving door at kicker we've had in the last 3 years. Robert, I mentioned cornerback L'Jarius Sneed. Yeah, that's the one I really like out of the free agent pool that's currently available. I don't think KC will let him go. Yeah, KC is going to have some tough decisions to make because, to your point, Robert, you signed Sneed. What's he going to get? I'm guessing somewhere in the neighborhood of 15 to 20 a year. Now you've got Chris Jones, who last year I want to say got right around 30 million. I mean, don't quote me on that. I'm going off memory here, but he's probably going to get a longer term deal, 3-4 years, somewhere around 30, 35 million a year. You're already paying your quarterback a wee bit, your tight end a wee bit. Now, if you add 2 more big paychecks on defense, man, they're going to be in some financial question marks as far as Kansas City. Boo, can we get Prater back? But man, that's a good question. And would the Brad Holmes spend that much to get somebody like him back? Because I think that's part of the reason why they originally let him go. Eduardo, in the first half of the San Francisco game, we ran the same 4 to 5 plays. In the first half, San Francisco stopped it. First half, San Francisco stopped it once. In the second half, we didn't run any of those plays. Keep doing it until the fully stop it. Yeah, and I'd be all for that. Me as a coach, if you can't stop it, I'm not going to stop doing it. It's on you to stop it, not me. All right, Joseph. Hey, might have 2 hot dogs this morning, man. Today's looking pretty bright, bright and friendly to me. So thanks for that, guys. Hot dog this morning, Coach. Thanks for your dedication and time or all you do. It is very much appreciated. Hey, no worries, man. I enjoy being here with you guys. It is everyday ritual for me. Well, I'm glad you enjoy it. I hope you all do, and I'm gonna do this every day until you guys tell me to stop. All right, Trump. What happened with Craig Reynolds? I think he's a free agent, but I'm going to guess the team's going to try to bring him back. That being said, if they don't re-sign him before the draft, to me that means they're probably drafting a new running back to be the number 3 running back. Probably some later round pick, maybe a free agent running back or non-drafted player there. You'd save a little bit of money there, but at the same time, Craig Reynolds, you know what you got, and you know what? The guys all seem to like him quite a bit. Robert G, Coach Dan, give the Lions your resume. You may need to be in that office. You know what? If there was one point, maybe like 10 or I don't even remember, a while back, we'll just go with that they had an opening for like special assistant, I want to say, to the defensive coordinator. So basically, hey, I need to go Xerox this. I need you to go get copies of that. I need you to go edit some film or whatever, that kind of guy. And I did apply for it. I did not hear anything back from them. So I do not like my chances. But if some position like that comes open again, I'll apply for it again. I'll let you guys know about it. Dimitri, what do you got? Good morning, fam. Good morning to you. Hopefully you have a great one. Eduardo, Jacksonville general manager, in a presser said Josh Allen ain't making it out. Chicago general manager said the same with Johnson. KC has to choose between, Jones and Snead. Jones wants Donald money. Hunter can't get tagged. Yeah. So Hunter's, I think you're spot on with that. And I get nobody wants to lose their best players. So most of them are going to get tagged. Hunter can't get tagged. I know Kirk Cousins can't get tagged. So I think we all agree Hunter's out the door. Can you get him to come here? That would be the real question of what kind of money. To your point with Jones, yeah, he wants to get paid like some of the top guys in the league, and he should, because I think there's a real argument to be made. If he's not on that team last year, they don't win the Super Bowl, especially in that Super Bowl game. I thought he was amongst the difference makers. All right, Southwest, Goff can set the tone for the rest of the team by taking a cap-friendly deal. I think he needs to be well paid, but it needs to be in the mid-30s to low 40 range. Follow Brady model. Yeah, if he wanted to be Brady, man, that deal would probably be like $15 million a year. Because Brady, I don't think most people understand how often he took incredibly low numbers so the team could pay other players. And a lot of that is because, he had so many other sources of revenue. It just wasn't a big thing for him. So we'll see what Goff does. But if he comes in anywhere around 30 million, I think it'd be real hard to not make a long-term commitment to him, because that number is only going to get cheaper every year that passes. And that would show, to me, an incredible commitment to this team. All right, Dimitri, what do you got? Go get Snead and Hunter ASAP. Yeah, you and I think alike. Snead would help out with the cornerback situation exponentially. He's physical. He's fast. He's got wingspan. He does get flagged a little bit more than the average corner. But you know what? Coach him up, because he got the rest there. Hunter, yeah, for about a 2 to 3 year window, he would help make that Lions front real nice. Joseph, what do you got? LOL, I just seen somebody else did that too. That's wild. And just said the same thing. Okay. I'm not sure, but I'll go with that. Our division has caught up to our offense. We need to build this defense to be the worst 12th next year. Yeah. And it would also take a lot of pressure off the offense to have to perform, score 30, 40 points a game to keep us in it. So, yeah, you need the defense to step up. Use Kansas City as the model. In my opinion, the defense is what won it for them this year, especially in the Super Bowl game. The offense did enough to win, but the defense kept them around, made enough plays to where the offense could eventually win the game. All right, Kurtz, what do you got? Do we keep Mosley or move on? To me, if he'll sign like a $2 to $3 million a year deal on a 1 year deal to prove it, I'd probably re-sign him. And that's just maybe because when he's healthy, I'm not going to say he's going to be the best corner on the team, but you know what? That cornerback room starts looking exponentially better if him or Sutton are the number 1 or 2. And now Jerry Jacobs, if you bring him back, is your number 3 or so, along with, or I guess actually Ryan Branch would be your number 3, and then maybe Jerry Jacobs is the number 4. I mean, that's some pretty good depth there. Is that still you laughing out loud? All right, fair enough. All right, Phil, greetings and salutations. Do crew, back at you, buddy. Eduardo, we have the worst defense in the division. We can't win the division next year if we have the worst division defense again. Top defenses always shut down top offenses, and Chicago and Green Bay have top Ds. Yeah, both of them have very good Ds, and you've got to do something to kind of match that, as you're alluding to. Pickering, I see this current Lions front office much like the Wings. It took Scotty Bowman about 3 years to get one of several in 97. Yeah, and that's a fair comparison. And look at some of the moves they made. I didn't follow the Wings a ton. I watched them probably like most fans during the 90s, early 2000s, just here and there. But to your point, yeah, they built a dynasty there for a while. All right, Eduardo, who do you think is our biggest threat in the NFC? I think it's Chicago over San Francisco, because Chicago was the only team all year that gave us struggles. Yeah, and some of that, if you remember, Eduardo, during the season, we talked about the things the Bears did that really caused the Lions' offense problems. And the fact that they can put a lot of pressure on the quarterback definitely aided in that. So to me, as far as I'm going to look at it as NFC first, and I do think if I'm guessing right, Green Bay is your biggest threat, but Chicago's right behind. That's for the NFC North. You got to be able to beat those teams. You got to be able to win the division to have a home field advantage. And to me, that's got to be the number one target for this team, because this past season, you could see how much of a difference playing at home made against every team that came here. They all said the same stuff. That was an incredible environment, home field advantage for the Detroit Lions. So I would say this: work on, to your point, beating Chicago and San Francisco, and what do you have to do to really limit their potential to beat the Lions? Demetrius, or go get Mac from the Chargers. What do you think? If it's a low-cost deal, maybe bring him in for just depth pieces. At least what I saw of him last year, I think his better days have passed. It doesn't mean he can't be effective from time to time. I just want him to be a full-time starter, because I think he'll wear down more over the course of the season. And it is a long season. Most players do wear down, let alone if you have some years on you. Southwest line, I was not a fan of Bob Quinn, but he did hit on some good offensive linemen for the Lions while he was here. Offensive line is a priority, up there with getting number one quarterback and defensive end. Yeah, like we've talked about in the show, you got to keep your strength strong. So I'm all for them bringing in either a first-round offensive lineman or second-rounder, or maybe some good value moves on the free agents market. Joseph, you know what I did during the Super Bowl? I watched Bye Bye Barry. And how'd you like it, man? I thought it was not too bad. All right, Detroit D, if Mosley comes back healthy and we get on a good corner in free agency, our secondary could become a strength of our defense. Yeah, and then you just got to get a little bit more pass rush to help them out. Can't put guys on an island for 3 to 4, 7 seconds and expect them to win the majority of the time. Eduardo, model for the 2014 Lions, stud D-line, okay corners. Yeah, if you can put heat on the other quarterback quickly, you can make average corners look a whole lot better. If you can't get heat on the other quarterback, then those average corners get exposed exponentially quicker. All right, Southwest, I'd like to see them re-sign Mosley on a 1-year prove-it deal. He seems to like being here. Yeah, I'm with you on that one, man. Trump, do we have any comp picks this year? Not as of yet. I don't think those have been assigned yet this year, and I wouldn't anticipate that we're going to get any. But maybe I'm missing something. Dennis, no. Yes, I'm with you on that one. All right, Detroit D, I believe our defense is going to be the top 5 this upcoming season. Everyone will become Aaron Glenn fans and not want him fired every week. I actually think he did a pretty good job the last month or two of the season. But I do get your joke about that. Yeah, everybody wants him out, and at least to me, for what he had to work with, I thought he did a pretty good job. All right, Trump, those 2 third-round picks for AG would have been nice. Would have, but, I will say this. The players all seem to like Aaron Glenn. And, the players like him. More players probably want to come and play for him. So keep that in thought. Lions talk with the bad guy, John Kapler. What would be more excited for the Lions to double down in the draft, defensive tackle or cornerback? To me, I'm an upfront guy. If you don't have an offensive line or defensive line, the rest of the stuff doesn't matter. If you can't block more than 2-3 seconds for your quarterback, wide receivers, tight ends, running backs really don't matter much if you consistently, at least. And same on defense. Cornerbacks and linebackers have a whole lot harder time making plays if somebody's just running them over, or you've given the other team's quarterback 8 seconds to throw. Defenses aren't going to hold up. So I'm going after the Lions. Dennis, woo! There you go, buddy. Hopefully have a good one. Trump, DE cornerback, the big uglies. Yes. Joseph, hit that like button, y'all. Support our program family. Yeah, if you haven't yet subscribed to Lions Talk Live, please consider doing so. Also, if you're enjoying the content, hit that thumbs up button thingy. All right, Detroit D, top 5 offenses and top 5 defense equals Super Bowl win. I like the way you're thinking. Brent, greetings and salutations, Coach and Drew crew. We're getting hammered in Twin Lakes. Just hope Brad uses some of that money to upgrade the cornerback position. I think there's a real possibility of that. Hopefully you're doing okay, Brent, and inside nice and warm and toasty during the storm. And I know it's hitting a lot of different places. I also hope you're recovering well, man. And so thoughts and prayers for you. All right, Southwest Lion, I would not trade Hendon Hooker. I would like to see Goff extended. He has been durable throughout his career. He has. He's been remarkably durable. But you're just one injury away from needing a good backup. Yeah, that's always true. So if you do get rid of Hendon Hooker, that's going to create a need for the team to get a backup quarterback. So you are correct there. Michael, we are developing a Hooker, and he is our number 2. Zero chance Brad Holmes trades him. Yeah, I mean, if somebody goes over the top of some offer that just can't be refused, then maybe you guys are right that maybe he's traded for. All right, Trump, right on Southwest. Yeah. All right, Robert. So true at Southwest. Correct. Is that so? You Detroit D? You got that right. Ain't disrespectful. We need young guys for the cash. Yep. Yeah, for the salary cap. 100%. Robert G. I don't see them taking a top tier quarterback that was hurt from the draft. Put all that time and money into them just to get rid of them after the first year. Yeah, I don't think they will. But again, if somebody makes you an offer that's just crazy, maybe like a Herschel Walker offer, then maybe you do. Southwest Lions, Lamar Jackson may have been the MVP during the regular season, but his postseason struggles continues. Goff has a better postseason than most of the other postseason quarterbacks. Yeah, and it probably doesn't get pointed out enough. You look at Goff's career in the postseason, there ain't many active quarterbacks that have a superior one. There are a few, just not many. Key, what do you got? I feel like the Lions let Hooker go. If the Lions let Hooker go, we're going to regret it. I would agree with that. This guy is everything that we want. He looks like a mini Lamar Jackson with passing accuracy. Sign Goff to a 2-year deal. Keep Hooker. Yeah, the question would be, would Goff take a 2-year deal? My guess is that the Lions are going to offer him 3 years. My also guess is that the Goff's representation is going to want a 4 to 5 year deal. We'll see what happens. Mile marker. That's from draft day. Okay, I'll go with that. All right, fair enough. Southwest, Dan. It was the second Super Bowl against the Bengals where Joe Montana made the John Candy comment. They drove 98 yards for the winning touchdown. Epic. Yeah, I remember it, but yeah, I just couldn't remember which one. I remember it was against the Bengals. I just couldn't remember which Super Bowl that was. All right, mile marker, draft day typo. Yeah, I knew you were going with that, man. All right, Southwest, Ken, I agree. I don't see them trading Hooker. I think it would be a big mistake. Yeah. You need a good backup quarterback. Yeah, 100%. And the fact he's on a rookie deal with lots of upside still, yeah, it'd be hard to move off him. Motown Mitch, good morning. Morning, coach. Can we get a woo? There you go this morning. There you go, Motown Mitch, and hopefully you're having a great morning. Hooker is borderline untradeable. No one knows what they are getting. Kid has literally never taken a snap. Yeah, you'll be basing it based on your scouting department and what kind of grades you had on him, and now that he's fully healthy. Plus the fact that, who the Lions have working with their quarterbacks, probably some street cred there. Keys, you have Hooker's study behind Goff, start a Green Bay Packer type of quarterback system where we start hometown growing our quarterbacks. But that has to start somewhere. Every player Brad Holmes draft is for a calculated reason. Yeah, and I think you're 100% right. I think the Green Bay Packers really do have the model for sustained success. You still got to have some luck go your way. But to your point, there's no need to go beyond what they're doing. It's how the NFL used to work in the 60s, 70s, 80s, early 90s, where everybody drafted a quarterback and sat him, let him grow, develop for multiple seasons. And then just kind of things start changing in the mid-90s where we need guys to play now. I also think there's a ton of quarterbacks that get shell-shocked, PTSD, because they're thrown out there so fast, they're not ready, and their careers get destroyed. Mile marker, I like that idea. Yeah, 100%. I'm with that on that. Rep music, Malibu, Jalen. Yeah, that's an option. All right, we got Boo. Through exercise, what kind of impressions do you get the rest of the team if you pay a king's ransom for an outsider? That would be the other part of it. And I think Brad Holmes and MCDC have kind of alluded to that. Maybe not in so many words, but they've kind of mentioned that they're more interested in re-signing their own guys, basically showing loyalty and establishing that as part of the culture. You come here and play in Detroit, we take care of you. All right, guys, it's been over an hour. I got to get ready for work and all that kind of stuff, real world stuff. So if you haven't yet subscribed, Lions Talk Live, please consider doing so. We're about 20 subs away from hitting 5,800. Also, if you would, hit the thumbs up button. If there is some breaking news later today, I'll try to get it over to you as quick as possible. Other than that, I hope you all stay safe. Have a great day. Stay warm if you're in the storm, all that kind of stuff. And I'll see you all in the next Lions Talk Live. Take care, everybody.